you.
There we go.
Okay. Good evening. It is 5:30, so we're going to call the meeting to order. We're going to start with the Ottumwa Board of Health. Before we do that, I'd ask you to turn your phone to silent or vibrate. And then please let's all stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Chris, would you take the roll, please?
Councilmember Stevens,
Here.
Councilmember Strebe,
Here.
Councilmember Berg,
Here.
Councilmember Dalby,
Here.
Councilmember Rowe,
Here.
Mayor Lazio.
Here.
Approve the minutes from meeting number 14 on December 4th, 2018 as presented. Recommendation, approve the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Councilmember Stevens,
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe,
Yes.
Councilmember Berg,
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby,
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe.
Yes.
This is the time, place, and date set to consider condemnation of the structures on the lot located at 2010 Bertha Street.
Good evening, Jody. You have the floor.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The property that you're going to see on the screen is 2010 Bertha. It's an old mobile home. It was placarded September 6, 2018, due to extreme dilapidation. The property is in such a condition that it is impractical to attempt to repair it, and the owner is unable to make repairs. Therefore, we are recommending condemnation and demolition.
This is a public hearing. If there's anyone in the audience that wants to address this item, now's the time to step forward. Hearing none or seeing none, I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Take the roll.
Councilmember Stevens,
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe,
Yes.
Councilmember Berg,
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby,
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe.
Yes.
Condemn the structures located at 2010 Bertha, order prompt demolition, removal, and leveling of the lot, and direct all costs attendant to such actions, including administrative cost, to be assessed against the property and/or collected from the owner or owners thereof. Recommendation, approve the condemnation of the structures located at 2010 Bertha Street.
Move the recommendation as presented. Second.
Thank you.
Councilmember Stevens,
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe,
Yes.
Councilmember Berg,
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby,
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jody. Is there any other business for the Board of Health? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn the Board of Health.
So moved. Second.
Councilmember Stevens,
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe,
Yes.
Councilmember Berg,
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby,
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Now we'll move into the regular scheduled council meeting, and we need to take the roll again.
Councilmember Rowe,
Here.
Councilmember Stevens,
Here.
Councilmember Strebe,
Here.
Councilmember Berg,
Here.
Councilmember Dalby,
Here.
Mayor Lazio.
Here.
Items on the consent agenda. Minutes from special meeting number 36 on November 30th, 2018, and regular meeting number 37 on December 4th, 2018, as presented. Reappointment of Gordon A. Strope to the Ottumwa Housing Authority Board, term to expire 11/11/2020, and reappointment of Carol Lee Kern to the Zoning Board of Adjustment, term to expire 12/12/2023. Civil Service Commission eligibility list of December 7th, 2018, which include engineering aid entrance and transit driver entrance. Approve the appointment of Chad Carlson to the position of Public Works Superintendent effective December 24th, 2018. Approve participation in the Iowa Department of Transportation's paint program to purchase paint for the Traffic Maintenance Department in the 2018-2019 fiscal year with an estimated total of $10,791.90. Resolution number 295, 2018, approved the payment of $12,769 for the required 10% match on the Assistance to Firefighters Grant for self-contained breathing apparatus for the fire department. Beer and liquor applications for Godfrey's Ale House at 2513 Northgate with outdoor service area. African and Asian Bar LLC at 105 and 107 North Market Street, Red Sea Ethiopia and Eritrean Restaurant at 323 East Main Street, all applications pending final inspections.
Is there a motion? Go ahead. To accept. Is there a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented tonight?
Your Honor, was there an issue with the appointment of Gordon tonight?
Yes, I would ask that we consider the appointment of Gordon Astrup to be effective December 1st of this year, or this month. Everything else can stand as presented.
Your Honor, I'd make that motion for the reappointment for December 1st, Gordon Eastrop.
Second.
Any questions? Take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Item C on our agenda, we need approval for tonight's agenda. Is there a motion for that?
Move to approve tonight's agenda. Second.
Thank you. Take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Item D, I'd like to call on Andy Wartenberg to step up to the microphone and give us an update on the CVB. Good evening, Andy.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. I think we have a PowerPoint. Just wanted to give you all an update on some of our activities in the past 2 months. First of all, I want to talk a little bit about our Destination Advocacy Training Program. You will recall at our last meeting, we were just putting the finishing touches on this. Again, this is a customer service destination advocacy program for Ottumwans by Ottumwans. It is an hour-long training program. It touches on 3 points: customer service skills, how to advocate for Ottumwa, and third, and probably most important, on how to ask for referrals. Our idea is that every time we engage with a visitor, that we can turn them into a virtual advocate. We did some beta testing. We rolled the program out about a month ago. I'm very happy to, you can see up here that all the businesses and organizations that we've been able to do the training with. Again, the training is free. We actually come to the offices of the businesses to do this. And hopefully, we've been working with the city administrator. We're going to be doing some training with the city in the near future as well. What I really want to do with this now is get out to some of the other hotels, restaurants, and other frontliners to do this program right here. But we're pretty pleased with the results so far. Also, as I touched on in our last meeting, we were working on our new website. Very happy to say, after about a 5-month project, we did go live with the website on December 10th. I would urge everyone, if you haven't had a chance, to take a look at our new website. It's at greaterotumwacvb.org. And again, just some of the major components. If you look on the picture on the left, that's our homepage of our old website. If you look on the right, that's our new website. And you can see some of the components we tried to add in: enhanced visual content. We've also added some selling content. You can see the difference between the landing pages. I think the major thing is now, the research indicates now 55% of all people that look at a website, a destination website, are looking on their mobile device, and they're not looking on their desktop. So obviously our website has been designed, and also you can see it's a little bit longer than you're used to seeing on a home page. And that just kind of dovetails what people are doing now. They're scrolling. Okay, so, and also we really expanded the groups page, the regional marketing tab, which I'll talk about in a second. The best news is we did receive, the total cost of the project was $7,000. I'm sorry, $9,000. We actually had a $2,000 credit with Neapolitan Labs, so it was $7,000. We did receive a grant from Iowa Tourism for $3,750. So our out of pocket for this, for the entire project was $3,750. And again, please, I'd like to hear your input. Please, if you have a chance, get onto the new website. Group sales initiatives, a couple of conferences coming up. The Theological Conference, which you may remember, they were here in 15 and 17. They're coming back in August. We've been working with them. They are now anticipating about 2,500 people coming. Out of that, about 40% will be staying in a hotel. So we're looking at approximately 1,000 room nights for that. And we're already been working with them and working with some of our hotel partners. The Landlords of Iowa Conference will be here in October. We're working on them to help them promote it. And of course, we're continuing our email blast with meeting planners. Now, I'm going to be attending the Travel and Adventure Show in Chicago and for second weekend in January, and I'll be making sales calls to meeting planners up in Chicago. Also, we're working with an organization called CVent. We just started this process. CVent is really the clearinghouse for meeting planners and suppliers right there. It's basically, you can do everything. It's one-stop shopping. I have upgraded. I have put a listing on there, which is free, but also there's a lot of different ways you can use CVent. I actually just talked with them today where you can actually advertise your destination. You can actually advertise your destination in a competing market. There's considerable cost involved with this. I'm gathering more data right now. And finally, myself and the Gothic House attended the Travel Iowa Marketplace. Had about approximately, that was in Pella, we had about 40 tour operators, and we already happy to say that Gothic House got some business out of that, so that was well worth it. I mentioned the Travel and Adventure Show. Some of you may recall, we did attend this last year. In my previous life, I did about 50 of these shows. I'm well acquainted with them. The one in Chicago it's a 2-day show. It's about 25,000 consumers. The great thing about the demographics of these consumers, their families, their medium income is from high to above average. They do a great job of advertising it. As of last year, we will be offering a weekend getaway. And right now, we are the only tourism board from Iowa attending the show. And we'll see. I mean, it's not cheap. It's $3,700 we spent for this. I will get back to you and see what the feedback is. And like I say, we will be doing the weekend getaway as we did last time. Now that I have gotten the website done and the advocacy program done, this is going to be my next sort of big project. I've mentioned this before, but we're putting this in motion now, is regional marketing initiatives. The bottom line is, our differences are our strengths. What we have, what Oskaloosa has, what Fairfield has. Our idea or our concept is that if we can share itineraries on our websites, that we can promote this as a weekend getaway destination. As we all know, one of the challenges our hotels face is getting full on the weekends. And this is a way to do it. Here's where we are right now with this. I've had meetings with Pella, with Van Buren, with Oskaloosa. They're all interested in working with us. I'm meeting with Fairfield on Thursday. The idea is, we're already doing this on our website, is to have what we call niche itineraries. In other words, we'll have sort of a foodie itinerary, a family recreation itinerary, a historical buff itinerary, and highlight points in each area. Now, one could argue is, why are we advertising for other people? This would be, to me, is incremental business. And the idea is they use Ottumwa as a base. We get the room nights and they go out and promote this. This is going to be challenging to get all of like 6 CVD directors to agree on anything. But I think, we'll take it as far as we can. And hopefully we'll have something rolled out for the summer of 2019. I also want to mention we have kind of reconfigured how we do sponsorships. As some of you may know, the CVB in the past had a certain amount of money, about $10,000 per fiscal year, allocated for sponsorships. In the past, what we've done is just given out blanket amounts of grants, if you will, up to about $2,500. There was a matching provision in that grant. However, there was no provision with what folks could do with that money. So what I propose and what my board has approved is that instead of just giving out block grants, we are going to say, okay, we will give you up to $2,500, but that money is going to be spent directly on advertising to promote Ottumwa, promote your event, and promote the city. So the way this will work is if they apply for the grant, I will sit down with them and say, okay, I think we can do X amount of dollars. Here's how we're going to spend it. You know, of course, we'll keep promoting events, you know, via social media channels and email blasts. But I think this is really good because it's more money being spent for Ottumwa, number two. And number two, the more we spend with someone, the more buying power we have. So that is in place right now. Digital marketing, we're continuing our digital marketing campaign. Just a couple things we've added to the mix. As many of you know, Facebook has gone through many algorithm changes in the past few years. We're still very active on Facebook, but we're kind of devoting a little more time to Instagram right now, specifically Instagram stories. We've gotten a lot of data back from folks here in Ottumwa and also from Iowa Tourism that people are looking at Instagram stories as opposed to Facebook posts. So we're devoting a little more energy to Instagram, specifically to Instagram stories. And if some of you may be familiar with the Iowa Gallivant, that is a blogger, podcaster, and what he does is he comes to places in Iowa and really promotes that destination. And he's been here 3 times. He was here this Saturday. We took him around. If anyone follows us on Facebook or get onto the Iowa Gallivant page, he did some fantastic posts, especially on Market on Main. And finally, just to give you an idea, we've had, you know, again, based on the STR data that we receive, see, we've had some good numbers. We had a good fall. You can see, especially in the last month, see our revenue numbers for September, October, and November. And also occupancy has been up as well. You see we had a nice, this month, you see in all of our hotels. And on that note, some of this may be attributed to the Holiday Inn Express, just so everyone's aware. The property now is open. It's 97 rooms. They gave me and my staff a tour. It's beautiful. And they've had what they call a soft opening, and it looks like they're going to have their grand opening sometime in January once they get a GM in place. But it's a really beautiful property. And I think that's all I got. I just want to wish everyone a very, very happy holiday. Okay. And I'll take any questions. Anything?
Any questions for Andy? Okay, thanks, Andy. We
Okay, thank
appreciate
you,
the
man.
update.
Thank you.
Move on to item 2. Andy, are you going to introduce that or is?
I'll defer to you on these next 2 items.
Okay. Who's taking the? Jody Gates, are you coming up to the microphone? I am. Give us an update on the 2018 Placarded House success stories.
Yes, I will. Thank you very much. This is the time of year I always look forward to, not just because of Christmas and all the holidays we used to get, but because I could tell you about the Placarded House success stories. These are houses that we have sold over the years, and they've been renovated in most cases. So the first one I want to show you is 576 Crestview. Could you back up? Yeah, that's what it looked like when we sold it. And it was purchased by Richard Slaughter. The house was placarded in 2016, and then we sold it this past year. And Mr. Slaughter bought it for a little over $17,000. And you can see that he's done a great deal of work. He's making a lot of progress. And we're expecting this property to be completed in 2019. This is 1346 North Elm. This is what it looked like when we sold it. And this is what it's looking like now. It was placarded in 2017 due to dilapidation, and then it was condemned, and then the owner of the property decided to gift it to the city, and we decided to try to sell it instead of just automatically demolishing it. It was sold to Oswaldo Sierra, and since purchasing the property in March of 2018, he's completely remodeled this house, including the replacement of a failed section in the basement, and we expect it to be released for occupancy in the next few weeks. Our next property is 337 North Weller. This house, this is what it looked like when we sold it, and this is what it's looking like now. It was placarded in 2015, also due to dilapidation, and we sold it to Celia Fuentes. She's completely remodeling the house, and she started by removing all the interior plaster, taking it down to the studs. So the house now has new wiring, new plumbing. The exterior looks completely different than it did when we sold it to her, and it's no longer a blight on the neighborhood. And the fourth house that I want to show you, 208 North McLean, this is what it looked like when we sold it, and this is what it looks like now. It was placarded in 2016, and then the city acquired it in 2018 and sold it on to Nathaniel Wasson. And you can see that they have completely redone the outside of the house. They continue to work on the interior, and we expect the house to be completed either by the end of this year or the first part of next year. These are just 4 of the houses that have been sold. I'll give you a little bit of statistics and history. This year has been our best year for selling properties. In 2018, the city sold 12 houses, including the one that's on your agenda tonight, 13 vacant lots and 1 commercial building, and received revenue of nearly $85,000 instead of spending somewhere in the neighborhood of $150,000 to demolish the houses. Since 2011, the city's obtained title to and sold 80 houses, 46 vacant lots, and 3 commercial buildings. And then in partnership with the Legacy Foundation, last year, we began a aggressive demolition program and demolished 17 or 18 properties in 2017. And then this year, we have demolished 18. So we are making strides in removing blighted properties in a number of ways. And one of the most exciting, I think, is seeing the successes of the people who are buying our houses.
Any questions for Jody? The pictures are worth a lot just to see the pictures, and
They are.
thank you for.
If you could see the inside of some of those, maybe we can convince them someday to give some tours, because it's amazing how some of them have transformed.
Thank you for your work on that, Jody. I think your leadership has really helped to make that a focus, so
Thank you.
appreciate that. Okay. Item 3, Pastor Mark Eisty was going to be here, and I think we have somebody in his place. Do you want to come up and identify yourself, and give you 3 to 5 minutes to make your comments and tell us what you're talking about?
Good evening. My name is George King, and I pastor Pennsylvania Avenue Free Methodist Church. Pastor Mark and I have an ordinance proposal that has come from Johnston City and has been adopted by 10 other cities, including Des Moines. And basically what this is, it's known that massage therapy businesses are beneficial to individuals, to their health and well-being, when they are licensed and certified. There are many businesses that are not licensed, certified, and they are simply covers for other illegal activities, including prostitution and human trafficking. And this proposal that has come to us through some training that we took in Des Moines would simply be a means of legitimizing real businesses that come in, massage therapists who have training and license and want to own and operate an actual business, and prevent fake businesses from coming in and participating in other activities. And so that's what we have.
Okay. And I understand you gave a copy of that both to me and to our city attorney, so we'll
Yes,
look
sir.
at that and we'll study that and get back with you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, item E, is there anyone who wants to comment on an agenda item? If you have a paper, please give it to one of our staff. We'll call you up at the time that item comes up. So we have one that'll come up on G6. Let's move into item F then.
Fee proposals for the Atomo Park Campground. Recommendation, approve the new fees for the Atomo Park Campground.
Good evening, Gene. You have the floor.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. At their meeting on december 11th, 2018, the Atomo Parks Advisory Board approved raising the tent camping fee to $15 and the RV camping fee to $18. Fees at the Atomo Park Campground are currently $10 for tents and $17 for RVs. The camping fees have not been raised since February of 2016. Raising the RV and tent camping fees will provide the city of Atomo with an additional $8,000 of revenue per year. Fees from other area campgrounds are listed below. Lake Wapello, 19 for both tents and RVs. Honey Creek State Park, 11 for tents, 19 for RVs. Scott County Parks, 15 for tents, $23 for RVs. Belvedere by Sigourney, $10 for tents and 18 for RVs. And that's it.
Okay, is there a motion to accept the recommendation?
Move the recommendation as presented. Second.
Any questions for Gene?
I don't have a question, Your Honor. I just have a comment. Thank you, Gene, for providing the comparables. I think it's important for for people to see how we stack up against some of the other local parks, and hopefully we can begin to keep up with those on a fairly regular basis. That way we don't get so behind where we were a couple of years ago.
Right. Any other questions or comments? Okay, take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Delby?
Yes.
Item 2.
Fee proposals for the Jimmy Jones Shelter located at the Atomo Park Campground. Recommendation is approve the new fees for the Jimmy Jones Shelter.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented, Your Honor.
Second?
Second.
Thank you, Helly. Go ahead, Gene.
Okay, the fees for the Jimmy Jones Shelter are currently $50 for 6 hours or less and $100 for all day, plus a $50 deposit. At their meeting on December 11th, 2018, the Atomo Parks Advisory Board approved eliminating the $50 fee for 6 hours or less and increasing the damage deposit to $100 per event. If approved, these fees will go into effect immediately.
Any questions for Gene?
Gene, could you tell me what the rationale was behind completely eliminating that 6 hours or less?
Well, it didn't get used very much, maybe only 4 or 5 times per year. And also when it did get used, we noticed that a lot of times the people that rented the shelter for less than 6 hours were actually staying for a lot longer than 6 hours. And in many cases, they were coming in the night before to set up. So it just wasn't working. And all of our other shelters we rent for the whole day. So we want to be consistent with our other shelters also.
So there won't be a 6 hours or less rental option for the Jimmy Jones then? Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments?
I have one.
Go ahead, Gene, or Skip.
Do you have rental fees for the smaller shelters like in Wildwood? And
Yeah, those are all $35 for the smaller shelters, but Sycamore Park is $50 per day.
plus deposit for cleanup?
There's a $50 deposit at Sycamore. The smaller shelters do not have a deposit.
Do you need one?
We tried it 2 years ago and we got so many complaints for the $50 deposit that we were losing a lot of business and people would storm out of the office refusing to rent the shelter at all. So it caused more trouble than what it was worth. And this past summer, we went without a deposit, and we had very few problems.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Ready to vote? Take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Thank you, Gene.
This is the time, place, and date set for a public hearing for instituting proceedings to take additional action for the issuance of not to exceed 4.5 million general obligation bonds.
Good evening, Bob. You have the floor.
Thank you, Your Honor. To clarify some of the questions, why there's three different types of bonds that we have here: general corporate purpose, essential corporate purpose, and one's urban renewal. You can't lump them all together underneath one public hearing, so that's why we have the three public hearings. The first one is for the $4.5 million GO bonds, where they'll be used to finance the housing demolition, the streetscape, and the sewer project.
This is a public hearing. If there's anybody that wants to address this particular item. Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Resolution number 285, 2018, instituting proceedings to take additional action for the issuance of not to exceed 4.5 million general obligation bonds. Recommendation: pass and adopt resolution number 285, 2018.
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions for Bob? Hearing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Thank you.
This is the time, place, and date set for a public hearing on instituting proceedings to take additional action for the issuance of not to exceed 1.4 million general obligation urban renewal bonds.
Go ahead, Bob.
Thank you, Your Honor. Once again, public hearing is required prior to the issuance. These bonds will be used to finance the airport runway, and they are an urban renewal bond will be paid back with the airport TIF district.
Okay. This is also a public hearing, so if anybody wants to address this item to the council, seeing none, I entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Resolution number 286, 2018, instituting proceedings to take additional action for the issuance of not to exceed 1.4 million general obligation urban renewal bonds. Recommendation: pass and adopt resolution number 286, 2018.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented, Your Honor.
Second.
Yeah. Any questions? Hearing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
This is the time, place, and date set for a public hearing on instituting proceedings to take additional action for the issuance of not to exceed $200,000 general obligation bonds.
Go ahead, Bob.
Thank you, Your Honor. Once again, public hearing required prior to the issuance of the GO bond. This money will be used to take care of the project at Bridgeview for the walls.
This is also a public hearing. If there's anybody that wants to address this item. Seeing none, I entertain a motion to close the hearing.
Move to close the public hearing.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions for Bob? Take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Resolution number 287, 2018, instituting proceedings to take additional action for the issuance of not to exceed $200,000 general obligation bonds. Recommendation: pass and adopt resolution number 287, 2018.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions for Bob? Hearing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens? Councilmember Stevens? Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
This is the time, place, and date set for a public hearing on authorizing the issuance of not to exceed 6.160 general obligation bonds series 2019 and levying a tax for the payment thereof.
Go ahead, Bob.
Thank you, Your Honor. Since these bonds will be issued after the budget is prepared, we have to have the paperwork in place to allow us to levy, to authorize us to levy for that payment, even though we're working with a very good estimate from Spears as to what that amount be, and then we can amend it the following year. But the paperwork has to be in place prior to the issuance of the bonds so that we'll be allowed to make our first payment next year.
Okay, this is a public hearing. Is there anyone that wants to address this particular item? Hearing none, I entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Resolution number 288, 2018, authorizing the issuance of not to exceed $6,160,000 general obligation bonds, Series 2019, and levying a tax for the payment thereof. Recommendation: pass and adopt resolution number 288, 2018.
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Any questions for Bob? Take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. This is probably one of the most important things that the council does is to pass on bond issues, and a lot of work goes into the preparation, and we also work with a bonding and a financial company, Spear and Company, and I've had unsolicited comments about the good work that Bob does with that particular, from that particular company. So again, thank you, Bob, for the background work you do on that. Item 5.
This is the time, place, and date set for a public hearing on the sale of city-owned property located at 701 West 4th Street.
Good evening, Jody. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. We accepted bids for the placarded house until December 11th, and we received 2 bids for the property. And the best bid was from Larry Waller in the amount of $2,250.
This is also a public hearing. Is there anyone that wants to address this particular item? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Resolution number 293, 2018, accepting the offer and approving the sale of city-owned property located at 701 West 4th Street to Larry E. Waller for the sum of $2,250. Recommendation: pass and adopt resolution number 293, 2018.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Skip. Any questions for Jody? Hearing none, take the vote.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Thank you.
This is the time, place, and date set for a public hearing on the establishment of a self-supported municipal improvement district.
Kevin, are you? Andy, you're going to take that.
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, as noted, again, this is a public hearing. This is approving the establishment of a downtown Ottumwa self-supported municipal improvement district, or a SMID district. I'm not going to read the entire staff summary. I'm going to touch on upon some of the highlights. Council set this date and time to receive public input regarding the establishment of the downtown Ottumwa self-supported municipal improvement district. A petition has been prepared which reflects signatures from at least 25% of all property owners within the Ottumwa downtown district, as well as assessed value equal to at least 25% of the property within the proposed district. After review of the petition, it appears that the initial requirements of the petition have been met and also have been confirmed. On November 8th, 2018, the City Planning and Zoning Commission reviewed and approved the recommendation of accepting this unanimously. The proceeds of the tax may be utilized for improvements within the district, which include items such as salaries, office space, planning, architectural engineering, and legal fees, as well as maintenance expenses that are specific to the improvements. I think it's also of note, want to point this out to council when we're looking at a time frame for this, and this is obviously a public hearing. In the late January, early February time frame, staff will be putting an ordinance in front of council that will in fact create the SMID district. I think it's of note to point out that this particular district is within the Westgate Urban Renewal District, so it is in a TIF district. And under TIF, as you know, incremental revenues from a TIF, property tax abatement almost in some regards. But the incremental revenues for that flow to the TIF district, and these will not flow to the SMID district. If you look at this, you have really two separate financial entities with the SMID district, which are approved again by 25% of the businesses within that district. Those monies flow to pay for certain improvements within this district specific to this project. TIF is the same way insofar as that if a TIF project were to locate within this district, their revenues would not be diverted to go towards the SMID. That would, I know that's a question that's come up. Those would run specifically back to whatever fund is set up to fund the improvements within the TIF district. That's all I have, Mayor. I don't know whether Attorney Keith has anything to add to that or anyone else, but I'll be happy to open this up for questions. I'll turn it back over to you though, Mayor.
Thank you, Andy. This is a public hearing and there is, I think, one comment. Owen McKee, if you'd step to the microphone and make your comments.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for allowing me to address the council members, and thank the council members for hearing me. My name is Owen McKee. I run McKee Coins downtown, been down there for 38 years. And right now we're in a position where the streets are going to be torn up in front of our place. They've already been torn up the street to the east of our property for over a year now. And then they'll be torn up for another year in front of our property, dividing at the city council or at the office next to me, Chamber of Commerce office next to me, and going to the east for a year and then going to the west for a year. All this construction work is going to really hurt our business. Okay. Also at this time, increasing our taxes is terrible timing for us. And then I'm also concerned about the fact that it's not equally taxed. We have 3 different zones. I just happen to be in one of the highest zones, and I'm not sure why some of these other properties are not in the highest zones, but I suspect the people that are pushing this petition are in the zones that are least taxed. So I feel that's very unfair for us to be taxed more in the particular zone that my office is in and Dr. Altflich's office is in. You know, I don't feel that there's going to be that much more advantage for us in keeping the streets clean and so forth in front of our little shops that we have, that we should be taxed 3 times the amount of anybody else in that zone. And why just 5 years? If we're really going to do this resolution, it's set up for 5 years. Why 5 years? If this is a good idea, why are we doing it in the 5 years when we have all this construction downtown and we're really going to hurt the local businesses? And they say they're going to use this money to help draw more people into the downtown area to open up businesses downtown. Do you really think it's going to bring more businesses downtown when you raise their taxes? Especially in the block that I'm in. How is it determined which zones would get the tax break? We have one zone that's getting taxed $3 per thousand. We have another zone that's getting taxed $1 per thousand. Another zone's getting taxed $2 per thousand. Is that really fair? Is that equitable? I think, I think you kind of have my idea. The taxation, there was another part that I seen in the thing. It said something about they were going to remove the special allowance that we were given by the state, which allowed people in a poverty area to have a little less taxes so it'd draw more business downtown. And now I understand by this proposal that they're going to take that away from us also, in addition to the $3 per thousand extra. You're really defeating the whole purpose of the government of Iowa saying, hey, we're going to give these guys a little break so they can get more people downtown. I think I've spent my time. I think you understand where I feel about this and how I feel about this. And I normally don't come to the city council meetings because I trust you guys to do a good job. My dad gave me the opportunity to come down here 38 years ago, and I spent my life down here. He said, we can open a short store in Des Moines, or we can open a store in Ottumwa. Which do you prefer? And I said, I preferred Ottumwa because it was a nice small town, and I liked Ottumwa. When I was a kid in high school, we came down to Ottumwa to go to the skating rink out to the Ottumwa airport. You know, I wanted to be in Ottumwa because I'm proud of Ottumwa, and I think Ottumwa can be great as long as we be careful about how we tax these places and how much burden we put on these people that are already stressed. And believe me, I've been stressed for 38 years trying to maintain a business down here. I spent 8.5 years working at Ottumwa Regional part-time just to help pay the bills downtown. I spent 18.5 years working weekend package at Iowa Lutheran and Iowa Methodist in Des Moines, just so I could help pay my bills downtown here. Do I want to see my taxes raised? Do I want to see all these empty stores? No, I do not want to see these empty stores. I want us to have a good base. But the only way we're going to get them is if we don't tax the people out of the district. Thank you for allowing me to talk.
Thank you for your comments. We appreciate that. Is there anyone else? This is still an open part of the public hearing. Is there anyone else that wants to address this item? Hearing none, I'd entertain a, oops, excuse me. Please step up to the microphone and identify yourself.
My name is TJ Heller. First off, I, along with many others, helped create the SMID district. And first off, I could definitely understand Mr. McKee's concerns, especially in regards to the construction, and I can appreciate that. And in no way at all is the SMID designed to put the extra burden on businesses as what was stated here. A couple of points of clarification, and maybe I can make this easier. When we first started this, we had many informal meetings to help identify what SMID was. We sent out certified letters as well and had a public meeting prior to getting to this point to help, again, identify what SMID is and how it provides value to the downtown Main Street area. Businesses like Mr. McKee's have been are the cornerstone, are the backbone to Main Street and what's made it here today. And so no way in whatsoever are we trying to misconstrue or hurt any type of business. This is a self-imposed tax. This tax doesn't come from anybody other than voted on by the commercial property owners. This tax does not, this levy does not affect residential or nonprofit. This is strictly on the commercial property owners. If I have a business in Main Street, but I do not own the building, it doesn't directly affect that business. It affects the person who owns that building. The tax, the different zones to help, again, provide clarification is a $3, $2, and $1 tax levy based on $1,000 assessed value. So for instance, if I have a building worth $100,000 in the $3 zone, I pay an extra $300 a year into the SMID fund. If I have that same building in the $1 zone, I pay an extra $100 into that SMID fund. The reason for the zones is based really upon the investment we're making in streetscape. And for those businesses who will be able to take advantage of that, their property values will go up. And we'll be right on, and we'll take advantage of Main Street. Now, there's going to be a growing period because those businesses, to what Mr. McKee said, he's correct in terms of the streets being torn up. In order to have progress, there's some growing pains we're going to have to go through. So I definitely can appreciate and sympathize with that. At the end of the day, that's the decision made for the zones. The $3 piece was made for the businesses who were able to take full advantage of Main Street. There are some businesses that are on the very outskirts of Main Street that are why the different zones are the way they are, because it's really based on the millions of dollars investment on the streetscape piece. So with that, I just hope and one for Mr. McKee, I would encourage him to join the committee, because people with 38 years in downtown have a lot of knowledge, and we were putting together a committee that decides what to do with this money, or recommends to the council, I should say, what to do with that money. And with that kind of passion and knowledge, that's what this committee recommends. And this committee is made up of property owners. So with that, I just want to help shed a little clarification and light into exactly what we're voting on here.
Thank you, TJ. We appreciate that.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Not to interrupt, I just had one quick question on this. My understanding that one of the components of the differentials, the $1, the $2, and the $3, and TJ pointed this out, but I recall from conversations there was also a relationship of the 1, 2, and 3, the incremental increases, because the improvements were more expensive, were higher in those districts. Is that a fair statement? All right. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Anybody else in the audience? Good evening. Step up and tell us who you are.
Hi, I'm Tricia Smith, and I am a business owner downtown. Also, I'm on the board of Main Street and as a chair committee for the Vitality Committee. I just wanted to point out and let the council know that we are working very hard to promote that. Yes, it's going to be a pain in the butt to have our streets tore up, but we are working very hard on putting together some activities for the community. We are working hard to getting a plan together to let the community know that we are still going to be open downtown, even though we're having construction going on. And that this is to beautify our downtown area, as well as promote our parking spaces, our parking lots in our community downtown, because a lot of times they're underutilized. So I just wanted the council to know, like I said, is that we are working hard to make sure that all the businesses are going to get promoted and everyone can join our committees. We welcome everyone that's downtown, or even community members that want to be part of the Main Street organization. So that's all I had.
Thank you very much. Last call. Anyone else? Good evening.
My name is Josh Gettings. I own Riverside Cyclery, and also with my brother business partners, a few properties in the SMID zone that we're talking about. And I just stand to, I guess, give my own perspective on what the proposal is. And that is, for myself, I moved back to Ottumwa. I grew up here, moved away for a while, and then moved back in 2000. And my goal in moving back to the community was to see Ottumwa become a better place to live and to do business, in a long-term sense. And when I was on the Main Street board, when we initially became a program, we did our training in Cedar Falls. Actually, it was the Cedar Falls director of their Main Street program who came to Ottumwa and gave a presentation that really gave me the buy-in on the Main Street program itself. But then we went to do our training in Cedar Falls, and they, explained their program there. They have a SMID district in Cedar Falls, and they explained how that worked, and the success that they've had with that program there. And it's really kind of been a snowball effect for them over the years, that as property values have risen because of the success of the program, the SMID program, that property values have risen, so that SMID funding has continued to increase over the years, and they've become adept at targeting where to spend that money to make additional improvements to the district. And so overall, it's had a very positive effect on their SMID zone. And so I'm hoping to see the same thing happen here in Ottumwa. And again, in a long-term sense, I think that this is going to be a really great thing for our downtown area. And I attended one of the meetings about the proposal, and I actually made a suggestion that the first phase, you might say, of the SMID district be not a 10-year proposal, but a shorter term. So that would allow, it would do a couple of things. Number one, anybody who is administering the program or on the board of the administration of the funding, it would put a little more fire to their feet to see quick results in that first short period, to demonstrate that, yes, these funds are targeted and to fulfill those promises that are made for that funding. So it's a shorter window for the initial phase. But again, I think my hope would be that the program hits the ground running, and that positive results are seen in a short period of time, so that then the property owners can buy into doing a longer term after that, knowing that the program, fulfills its promises and that there's success that can be seen. So that's just my perspective, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else?
My name is Brian Lee. I'm a property and business owner downtown, and I don't have anything to say for or against this project. The only thing that I would ask from the city of Ottumwa is to improve the amount of communication between the citizenry, the businesses, the business owners, property owners, as this project goes forward. I think that probably my thoughts are towards the horror stories I've heard from Dale Schimmelfinney or from Dr. Enlow regarding those projects. And my first notification of this meeting was 7 to 10 days ago by a certified letter, and that is the very first I think I was notified of this project. So I would just ask for more communication. Thank you.
Thank you. Last call. Anybody else?
Real quick, Mayor Cancel. Thank you. This project for the SMID started back in probably June or July with TJ and I, and talking with some business owners downtown as well. And again, I want to thank you tonight for passing the bonds for the streetscape, and make sure everybody realizes too that that is a very expensive project, and it's looks like it's moving forward quite well. But compared to a lot of other towns as well, that is not costing anybody downtown any money whatsoever. And I think that shows your support of what's going on downtown. And in many other towns that I've been to through Main Street and other learning experiences that I've had, it's very unusual that that happens. And then on to SMID, we did send out a letter. I apologize if people did not get that. We got the addresses from all of those from the county assessor here in Wapello County, and sent those out probably in August for a public meeting at the Hotel Ottumwa. We did have Carol Lilly come down from Cedar Falls to describe how the SMID has been in place in Cedar Falls for 25 years. It is voted on up there in Cedar Falls as well every 5 years. I think the comments that Josh made were very well, that this is something that has to be voted on every 5 years, or it could be 10 years. I will show one example. Burlington has this. It's been in place for 30 years down there, and it has not been, does not come up for a vote. They do receive the same amount of money that they did 30 years ago, whereas Cedar Falls, with the continued improvements that they have seen up there, the property values have gone up. The assessed values have also gone up with the property values. So their SMID dollars go up with that. So they've seen great improvements in their district, whereas I kind of feel like Burlington's, you don't see as much improvement there as you would have if they would have structured that differently. Anyway, just short, I just wanted to say that I feel like this has been public. As far as the streetscapes go, we have had certainly lots of public meetings with property owners and the architects along the corridor where that is happening next year. And we'll probably be opening that up to even more people as we get a little bit closer. So thank you. Oh, one more thing. This does require, as Andy said, 25% of the property owner's signatures and 25% of the assessed value. We did receive 40% of the property owner's signatures and 62% of the assessed value signatures. So thank you.
Can I answer
Thank
real quick while Fred's at the
Pardon me?
microphone? Again, from the $3, $2, and $1
Mhm.
zones, it looked like on the petition that you had pretty equal signatures from the $3, $2, and $1.
Yes.
I mean, approximately.
Yes. Over that, yes, the percentages were pretty much the same percentages through those districts. I will say too that the properties in the Zone 1 and Zone 2 are higher valued properties. Therefore, they were paying more taxes, and that was another allocation for that. And the improvements that we've seen so far have really been along that 3-block corridor of Main Street and upcoming with the streetscape as well. Feeling like that is going to add more value to those properties, probably more so than the values in the 2 and the 1. And again, in 5 years, that can be changed. So
Thank you.
thank you. Anything else?
Thank you. All right, council, we're still in the public phase. Is there any other questions or comments? If not, I entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Resolution number 294, 2018, approve the establishment of a self-supported municipal improvement district. Recommendation, pass and adopt resolution number 294, 2018.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Okay, any questions?
I do, Your Honor. I just have a few comments. First of all, I'd like to thank everybody who came to speak about this issue tonight. And I'd like to say that conceptually, you know, I'm not opposed to this idea. To Mr. McKee's point, I think that business owners that are participating in this and who are paying in, I guess, you know, I would have the question of, you know, what is that extra tax money doing for my business? Who decides how that money is allotted? When is that money allotted? Is it annually? You know, so I think it'd be important for, if this passes, and again, I'm not opposed to it, for us to have some data and have some information on what those numbers are, you know, how much money has been generated, what type of projects that's going to. So it would help edify both the council's decision and, you know, keep the public informed of how well this is working, you know, hopefully when we look at this again in 5 years as to how this is actually positively impacting our community, which is the goal and which we hope it does.
Okay. Thank you. Any other comments? If not, are you ready to vote? Okay, take the roll, please.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Thank you.
Resolution number 284, 2018, assessing 2018 weed mowing charges against certain lots in the city of Ottumwa, Iowa, for a total including administrative fees of $53,516. Recommendation, pass and adopt resolution number 284, 2018.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation is presented, Your Honor.
Second.
Thank you. Good evening, Kevin. Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. The attached report lists 149 properties that were mowed by the city's mowing contractor in 2018. The owners of those properties were mowed in 2018 were billed for the mowing charges, and those charges attached to the list remain unpaid. Total charges for mowing assessments for 2018, including administrative fees, are $53,516.
Any questions for Kevin? Just a comment, this seemed to be the highest year with the highest number of individuals and the least amount, or second to the least amount, recovered. Is there any plan to follow up on that?
Yeah, I mean, we do want to look into that. Our calendar assessment cost was $52,511. 141 properties was the number. So the number actually is a little higher than in 2014. We had 132, and 15, 124, and 16, 95, and 17, 100. So we're a little up on how many we're actually looking at. And our costs recovered was a little under half of what it was in 2014. So you see more properties in this case who we're having to assess to rather than being able to recover from. So we will need to look into that. But as far as our overall numbers, we are not down. We're just down in our ability to recover them during what was the fiscal year, or the portion of the fiscal year that we were doing the code enforcement, I should say.
Are you ready to vote? Take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Thank you.
Resolution number 289, 2018, award the contract for the Milner Pump Station Removal Project to DC Concrete and Construction of Dowds, Iowa, and the amount of $33,678. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 289, 2018.
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Good evening, Larry. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. This project consists of installing approximately 41 linear feet of 12-inch gravity sewer main, decommissioning of the Milner Street pump station, converting the wet well into a manhole, place and fill concrete patches and site restorations. Bids were received and opened by the City of Ottumwa on December 12th, 2018 at 2 p.m. Plans were either picked up or sent or downloaded from the city website. 3 bids were received. The low bidder is DC Concrete and Construction out of Dowds, Iowa, in the amount of $33,678.
Are there any questions for Larry? Hearing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Resolution number 290, 2018, award the contract for the Beach Phase 3 Sound System 2018 RFP 4X to Lifeline Audio Video Technologies of Platteville, Wisconsin, in the amount of $48,775. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 290, 2018.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, let's have some discussion. Gene, go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This project consists of the complete removal of the existing sound equipment, including wiring. Contractor shall provide all equipment, labor, and materials necessary for complete installation of a new indoor-outdoor sound system to provide quality audio to the lobby, offices, outdoor and indoor pool areas in accordance with proposed plans and specifications. Bids were received and opened by the City of Ottumwa on December 12, 2018 at 2 p.m. Project notices were sent out to 3 companies and 1 addendum was issued. 2 bids were received. The low bidder is Lifeline Audio Video Technologies of Platteville, Wisconsin, in the amount of $48,775. The engineer's cost estimate for this project was $50,000.
Are there questions for Gene or comments?
I have some, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
If nobody else does. I don't even know where to start. Year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago, we had a proposal to put in a sound system at the beach in round numbers, $25,000 by a local contractor that we could get our hands on him if we needed him. And then we were told that that needed to go out for bid. After this local contractor had worked on it year after year and limped it along for us, thanks to them, I didn't have a big problem with putting it out for bid. So we did that. The bids come in from the high 100,000, I'm using round numbers, the low something else way down in the bottom there. And we couldn't figure out how that could be. It wasn't specifically from a sound contractor. One of them, I think, was an electrical contractor, had no sound experience that we know of or I know of. So we rejected all that. And we said we need to start all over. Now the bid comes in at almost, almost $49,000. Number one, I said some time ago, when you divulged to contractor that you got $50,000 to spend, in some cases, they're going to try to get almost all of it. I'm not saying in every case, but I don't particularly like divulging how much money we got to spend for each project. But anyway, my one question is, we have to provide the poles and the conduit. How much is that going to cost? Does anybody know?
Probably a question for the city engineer.
Pardon me?
We'll be doing that work in-house.
If there is a cost to it.
Correct. Staff time, the city already owns the poles.
Pardon me?
Staff time plus the city already owns the poles.
Okay, are they steel, wood?
Wood.
Do we have to trench in the conduit?
Correct.
I'm guessing by the time that's done, is another $5,000 to $10,000. That's just a guess on my part. Could be way off. What did it cost us to have the specs drawn up? Okay, 5 to 10 plus 2,000. So now we're hitting real close to $60,000 for a sound system. From a Wisconsin company, that if we have an issue and we need to get a hold of them, how long is it going to take them to get here? Or are they even going to come here? When we had a local company that helped us along all these years, I don't know why they didn't bid at this time, didn't ask. But I would urge my colleagues that we need to, once again, table this or whatever, postpone it, whatever you want to call it, and go back. I just can't believe this thing's jumped around like this. And I said before the bids came in, this thing's going to hit $50,000, $60,000, and I hit it right on the nose. I'm not in favor of it. I would urge my colleagues to vote against it. We need to redo it somehow. And I don't know how, but we need to redo it somehow.
Okay, any other comments?
Can I say something, Mayor?
Um,
I didn't fill out a form, but can I say something, please?
We'll give you a couple of minutes to make some comments.
So I'm the local contractor that this happened to, and my wife and I went round and round about whether to bid on this project. And the company from Wisconsin is a great company. I know the guy. And I'm going to make this really brief. And I ran down here. I was out of town working today, and I got here as quick as I could because I just knew that if I didn't say something, I would regret it. Skip's correct that the company that I bought had limped the beach along for 15, 20 years. And when we bought it, we still limped them along. I limped them along at the beginning of the year. And 3 years ago, I went to Park Board's meeting. I met with Gene Rathie. I met with Larry. I met with all kinds of people. I put together a bid. They said, you can't do that. We have to get competitive bids. So I X'd out my prices. I sent it to other companies. I emailed the council. I emailed everybody. You had 3 bids. It was for $23,096. Nothing ever happened. Then Skip's right. It went back and you just sent out a general RFP and it ranged from $110,000 down to $40,000 in bids. And you threw that out. And then this time I said, you have to get apples to apples and spec this out. Why I ran down here to say something is what really frustrates me is my wife volunteers her time on all kinds of committees. I volunteer my time on all kinds of things. I spent all kinds of money for RAGBRAI and did it for free and volunteered my time. And this is how I was treated. And I made it very clear to every council member sitting up there and to Andy and whoever else would listen that I was not treated right. What irritates me about government is the fact that nobody's held accountable. I don't want this project. I'm not going to be mad at the city after tonight. I want the cities to succeed and I'm going to continue to support it. But I have to say my piece. And I would have bid on it if I felt like somebody was held accountable. And there wasn't. It was just going around in circles constantly. And I felt like I was just totally, I don't know what the word is. There's not a clean word that I can say. And so I really don't feel like you should table it because I'm not going to bid on it. I'm not going to have anything to do with it. I don't want anything to do with it. And so I guess, as Forrest Gump said, that's all I have to say about that.
Thank you for your comments, Matt. Okay, there is a motion on the floor to pass and adopt the resolution as presented. Are you ready to vote? Take the roll, please.
Councilmember Rowe,
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens,
No.
Councilmember Strebe,
No.
Councilmember Berg,
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby.
No.
Motion fails on a 3-2 vote.
Resolution number 291, 2018, approving change order number 1 and accepting the work as final and complete for the 2018 street crack repair program. Recommendation, pass and adopt resolution number 291, 2018.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Good evening, Larry. Go ahead.
This project is one of our annual preventative maintenance programs and consists of sealing cracks throughout the city of Ottumwa. Change order 1 consists of quantity adjustments in the amount of $534.75, making the new contract sum $44,904.75. We always budget $50,000 annually for this program.
Any questions for Larry? Take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe,
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens,
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe,
Yes.
Councilmember Berg,
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby.
Yes.
Resolution number 292, 2018, approving change order number 1 for the Wapello Street and Albia Road Roundabout Project, also known as the North Ferry Street and Albia Road Modern Roundabout Project. Recommendation, pass and adopt resolution number 292, 2018.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Go ahead, Larry.
Change order 1 accounts for all the change orders done prior to winter shutdown. 2 change orders are for traffic control in addition to what was called in the staging plan set. One is for shoulder material and the other one is to replace and put in angle top intakes, better match the slope in the road and the drives. The driveway needed to be restaked and there was areas of unsuitable fill that had to be cored out during the project. The change order 1 is in the amount of $4,067.41, brings the revised contract amount to $769,926.34. I would like to add one of the things that has occurred since the winter shutdown. We were monitoring ground temperatures, frost depth. Part of that has come out. The contractor was in yesterday and today, put blankets down. We are anticipating that he's going to be able to come back in and at least pour the slip lane. We do not know if we'll have enough time from a weather standpoint because we are required certain ground temperatures and air temperatures, but we're going to work towards opening that southbound lane, which is the stage 2 of the Albia Ferry Street Extension project.
That's good news.
There's no guarantee, if the weather snaps back into the 14-degree range, then we'll be forced to shut down again.
Any questions for Larry? Okay, take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe,
No.
Councilmember Stevens,
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe,
Yes.
Councilmember Berg,
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby.
No.
Motion passes.
Resolution number 296, 2018, approved policy number 68-2018 to establish guidelines for dealing with individuals and groups that damage parks and recreational facilities. Recommendation, pass and adopt resolution number 296, 2018.
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Go ahead, Gene.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor. The Ottumwa Parks Advisory Board has developed a policy that will help prevent future damage to Ottumwa's parks. This policy was developed as a response to recent damage to the parks by various groups and individuals. The Park Board approved this policy at their meeting on December 11th, 2018. This policy will go into effect immediately, and the policy is attached.
Any questions for Gene?
I guess I do, Gene. I'm not opposed to this policy. I guess it's a little bit, I have it here in front of me. I guess I'm just sort of confused about some of the steps. You know, number one, groups and individuals are not allowed to damage or substantially alter parks. You know, absolutely. Any damage must be reported by the group that does the damage. And then after that, groups or individuals must sign a document stating that they will not damage the parks. And it seems like if they sign that paper and then damage the parks, the likelihood of them reporting it, given number 10, the individual or group that damages the parks or recreational facilities will not be allowed to use the damaged facility in the future. I guess I'm just not quite sure, you know, what these measures are ensuring. It doesn't, again, it's nothing that I'm against. I just wonder how these 11 bullets will dissuade people who, I guess you're talking about accidentally damage and not vandalism. But I don't know. It seems like some of them sort of efface the other ones.
Okay, I developed this policy at the recommendation of the Park Board, and they gave me several of these bullet points to include. And their thinking was they wanted to be proactive to prevent damage to the parks in the future.
Gene, okay, good, thank you. Will they see all of the, like when they sign a document that states that they won't damage the parks, will they also see this list of measures that they're supposed to follow or that will happen if that occurs, if damage occurs?
Yes, that's my plan, is that if this is approved tonight, we're going to hand this out especially to the larger groups that use the parks and the Jimmy Jones shelter, to make them aware that if they do damage to the parks, for example, backing over an electric box or backing over a water hookup at the campground, that they will in the end be held responsible after their event is over with.
Okay, thank you.
I was at that park board meeting, and I also would support the park board that item 7 and 8, it does file a police report and there is damage to be assigned by Gene or his people. And I think once we do that and people find out that we're serious about it, because there's been a fair amount of damage that we just have allowed to happen. So I think it's a good start. We may need to refine it, but it's a good start.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I guess if it's an accident, like you just mentioned, Mayor, though, someone accidentally backs up for some, over something and they didn't intend to, and, they signed the petition and they were contrite and forthright and came forward and, said and paid their fine and whatever, then that sort of makes their being banned from that facility kind of a difficult situation. But anyway.
Any other comments before we vote? Take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
We also allow comments from the public on anything of city business. Is there anyone that wants to address the council? Okay, last petitions and communications from council. A couple of things. I would like to inform the public that we have an opening on the Historic Preservation Commission. We always encourage volunteers to sign up and put your name on file. You can pick up an application from Katie King, the administrative assistant in the front office. And if you have somebody that you think would be good for that or is interested in that, please tell them to do that. Remind people that because of the holiday and the way the calendar falls, our next meeting will be on January 8th, which is the second Tuesday of the month instead of the first. I think, we will also be having comp plan meetings in January, and we'll make the public aware of those. We had one at Bridgeview recently, and I was personally disappointed that we didn't have more public input. this is your chance as a public to tell the city departments what you think is important as we go out for a 10-year look. And it includes everything from land use to parks, streetscape, et cetera. So this is a chance to hear from the public, and we'll make you aware of those dates as they come up. Any other business from any council member, any staff member? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn then.
So moved.
Second.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
And I have 6:54.